Week 4 is underway. We have some bad news with injuries, but a lot of good news coming out of both Detroit and Green Bay for a season long entry and a loaded slate for Week 4 with a lot of interesting strategies to attack for pick'ems. This is the Player Profiler Pick'em Power Hour. David Montgomery.
We might be a fan on this show of David Montgomery.
2 more touchdowns until I buy the jersey. Welcome back to the Player Profiler Pick'em Power Hour. We're your hosts, Ahaan, Rungta, and Trevor Tipton for the bonus show as usual on Friday. In case you missed it, we gave out a Thursday night football 2-pick as we always do. We discuss it, we collab on it, we're in it together, a 2-piece. We backed the tight ends, Porta and Luke Musgrave this Thursday. Ended up being an ugly game pretty much from the start. So Sam Laporta, we needed higher than 4 receptions. He gets 4 in the first half, nothing in the second half, which still would have been fine. It still would have been profit for us since we did get the push potential. And that line closed at 4.5, by the way. So we did have the push equity there. But Luke Musgrave gets a yard and then gets hurt in the second quarter. And we have to watch the backup tight ends of the Packers get nearly all the targets in the second half. Just painful to watch, but hope Musgrave is okay, and hope, Trevor, you are doing well. I know you're a bit under the weather, but you're still powering through this card, and I see some winners on the show sheet.
Yeah, we're here, man. It's football season. You're not allowed to get sick during football season, even though I just did. So 2 of my nieces were visiting, got me and my wife, but that's okay. Monty, man, we're I still don't. I'm gonna rant for like 2 seconds. This is where you have to watch for anybody who's watching the show that plays season-long fantasy, best ball, those things. You have to avoid the group think. You have to learn how to do analysis on your own. You have to learn how to check coaching tendencies and use that for your roster construction. I get they used first-round capital on Jahmyr Gibbs. I understand. But before they did that, they gave Monty 3 years at $18 million, $11 million of it guaranteed. $11 million of it guaranteed, guys. Like, they showed us last year how they were going to use this tandem. And I get there was a way to talk yourself in. Swift was hurt, these different things. But they've showed us what it was. And they have one of the best, as you got to witness last night, run blocking lines in the league. Like, they just have it. This might go down as the most off prop this season is our pick and play for David Montgomery over 6.5 touchdowns. That's just, as long as he doesn't lose both his feet, I think we'll be just fine.
Now, David Montgomery did give us a little bit of a scare, got carted off last week, but or not last week, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, it doesn't feel like that long ago. 2 weeks ago, missed most of the second half of that game against Seattle, then misses a game, and then fast forward a few days, and he has 5 touchdowns through 2.5 games of football that he's played so far. Also, some good news out of Green Bay. Christian Watson has stepped on a football field. He was on a quote-unquote snap count, a little bit of a soft snap count. And I'm seeing all this Romeo Dubs discourse and seeing all this Christian Watson discourse, seeing some Jaden Reed stuff as well. Love me some Jaden Reed. What we need to take out of it for our show, for our season-long entry, is that the man played pretty much 3/4 of a game and earned himself a touchdown. He's the number 1 option in the red zone because that's just what his profile suggests. And if he can give us, health the rest of the way, slowly work his way back up, I wouldn't be surprised if he scores a touchdown every week. And second to David Montgomery, we were both on when we were drafting our season-long entries, that those two, Montgomery and Watson, were the ones at the top of our list. We saw that on both of each other's lists, and we're like, okay, those 2 are going in. So I'm not surprised at all that both of them looked great, finding pay dirt yesterday. We do have some other sweats going on in that season long we all know Zeke isn't scoring until week 9, just how it's going to be. But we have some week 4 winners to find before that. And for those of you who are in the chat, Manuel, Nut Gobbler, appreciate y'all joining us in the chat. We're going to find winners for Sunday. It's been too long, right? It's week 4. We got to start. We got to start hitting these entries so that once you place enough and we start hitting the winning column, the rewards are going to show. The process has been good the last couple of weeks, but we got to actually start hitting these 2 pieces. So gonna dive right into this underdog board. If you haven't already joined Underdog, you can do so with promo code Underworld upon entry, and you get a full deposit match when you enter up to $100 US. And Underdog is doing a special every week this year where you can enter a pot of several thousands of dollars, and they're doing a giveaway. All you have to do is there's a yellow square at the top of the board. Go to Underdog, go to the pick, there's yellow square. You make an entry with that yellow guy, the guy in yellow at the top. You make an entry. Doesn't have to even win, and you get entered in the lottery. But what we're going to do is we're going to enter this lottery right in front of you guys, and we're going to find a winner. And I'm going to share the screen in a minute so you guys can see as we're placing this entry. But I misspoke on the last show, right? They're going to change up the way they do these promos each week. They find creative ways of doing these. So last on the show on Wednesday, I said that there was a George Pickens underdog pick'em square. So that was the pick'em square for that day. And so this week they're doing a rotating policy, and each day it's a new special. And today's special, so if you're watching this on Friday, the special is Damien Pierce total yards. And so if you include a Damien Pierce total yards pick in your entry, that entry is going to get you put in this lottery. So, Trevor, before we talk a little bit about that Texans Steelers game, there's one pick on the board from this Bills Dolphins game that both of us have at the top of our list, and both of us included in the Underdog pick generator, which came out yesterday. Why don't you introduce, while I'm sharing the screen, introduce us all to this quote-unquote receiver?
Yeah, so this is, if you follow me on Twitter at all, you will know how much I love this man. This is Swifty-level crush for the Swifties that are out there and all the Travis Kelce craziness that's going on the internet right now. But I have that kind of crush on this man out of Utah, and we are talking about no other than Dalton Kinkaid. Dalton Kinkaid legitimately has the opportunity to be Buffalo's wide receiver 2 by the end of the season. He's going to get used. He's going to get targeted. The more you see Knox drop balls, they've schemed Knox in so far. They have put him in. They're using him, and Kinkaid is going to continue to take that from him. Now, I think they'll still use Knox in line. He's a little bigger for more blocking roles, but they can put Kinkaid in the slot. They can put Kinkaid outside. There's just so much upside to Dalton Kinkaid. And when we saw this, we're like, oh, this is something that we're shocked to see. So let us give you guys a little idea on one of the things we look for. When you're shopping these DFS plays at Underdog, you want to also look at the sports books and see what their line at juiced is at, because as soon as these hit 145 to 150, they tend to get moved by Underdog and juiced a half point each way, whether it's receptions, yards, if it's tackles, assists, it can get moved one direction or another. But we have Dalton Kinkaid this week over 2.5 receptions. He is going to continue to get targeted in this offense. It's not like how much he's going to get, like if he's going to get targeted, it's just how much. It's just really simple for me. So Dalton Kinkaid so far has ran 74 routes, and he's actually getting close to a 12 target percentage. Let me give you an idea. After Diggs, that's basically tied with Gabe Davis. He's ahead of Knox. He's ahead of Harvey. He is, as he gets more trust, their wide receiver 2. And Who do we get this week? Who do they play? The team that just put up 70 points. And what can't that team do, though, on defense? That team can't stop tight ends. And they're going to attack that. If you go do your research like us, and you want to spend all that time Ahaan and I spend digging into these stats and this data, we do this for you so you don't have to. That is one of Miami's weak points, is defending the tight end position and the slot position. And I think this is a great matchup. This is one of those, if I was able to go to a sports book and ladder his receptions up, like do alt receptions, I would take this up to like 4 or 5 receptions in this game.
And you can do that on a sports book like Bet365, which is, by the way, one of the. By the way, that's only available in a few states, and once it gets to Massachusetts, I will be downloading that so fast you don't even know, because that's a great sports book. And if you're looking to bet on sports books, if that's your thing, alongside the pick'ems as well, you can hit up our boy Memphis Young on Friday nights. He runs the Juice on the Player Profiler Network, and he does a great job with talking about game lines and talking about player props. He covers both for you, so you can bet on the sports books as well. A great way, you spend your late afternoon with us, get your pick'em entries in, go get dinner, go take your walk, come back, spend the night with Memphis Young on the Juice. Now, back to Dalton Kinkaid. I love it. You mentioned Miami couldn't defend tight ends. Hurts my heart a little bit because the one time I did attack a tight end against them on Pick'em, it was Adam Troutman, and that boy didn't do anything. So enough of Adam Troutman talk, though. Now we're going to pair this with this Damien Pierce pick. And before, we're maxed at $20. You might be maxed at something else, but we're going to max it for the $20 that we do have. And I'm going to place this before perhaps Dalton Kinkaid moves, right? You gotta be on these picks before they move, and we wait to place these entries for you on stream. So if you're on stream, go place it now. Now we're backing the Damien Pierce higher. Now I will admit, I think Trevor, you'll agree with this as well. If you get this tomorrow and you're just like trying to place your entries tomorrow, and the Damien Pierce special isn't on the board, I'm not going to be exposing myself to Damien Pierce. I said that wrong. I'm not going to be clicking on any Damien Pierce buttons. Please don't clip that.
We're 1,000% clipping that.
That is not going to be clipped. I'm not going to be, making a pick on Damien Pierce tomorrow, right? Because this line, to me, is kind of sharp. It's one of the sharper ones we've seen this season. If you look at what he's done so far this year, 0 for 3 going into the higher, right? So why do I want to take the higher? Well, now he faces Pittsburgh. And I wrote about this in my betting article a couple of days ago, but what Pittsburgh and Houston both have in common this year is that they're both high-paced teams. They're both top 8 in the NFL in pace this year. Okay, that helps adding to the possessions, but also Noah Brown remains on the injured reserve, which is why I told you a couple of weeks ago, go pick up Tank Dell, right? But Pittsburgh also knows that Tank Dell was the guy there, right? So they're going to pay a little more attention to him. I like that we're getting the total yards here because even though Damien Pierce is not a big pass catcher, right? We faded him in the past, or at least I've faded him in the past solely because he doesn't have that profile. You look at what Devin Singletary is doing in the backfield, and he's not really contributing much either, right? And, I have some best ball Devin Singletary exposure, thinking that maybe he would get involved, in both aspects of the game and kind of split the work with Damien Pierce. But that's not really happening, right? So Damien Pierce is still getting this sort of workload, and now he faces a Pittsburgh defense that hasn't been good against the run and really only does well when they apply pressure to the quarterback. And what does C.J. Stroud do so well is he doesn't make too many mistakes under pressure, right? We've talked about how good he's been so far this season, and he hasn't been bad under pressure, unlike, another certain quarterback that was taken before him, right? So C.J. Stroud's been – yeah. So C.J. Stroud – bless you. C.J. Stroud's been making good decisions, so I expect him to get Damien Pierce involved a little bit, and the books seem to agree, right? They wouldn't set this line at 63.5, him not clearing this yet if they didn't think he had a shot. So I lean the higher here. I think the ceiling for Damien Pierce is why I would be taking that side, and that's going to lock in our entry for that. Damien Pierce higher than 63.5 total yards. paired with Dalton Kinkaid higher than 2.5 receptions.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as Ahaan here. If this isn't this play with underdog, I'm not using this play this week. It's there. But the upside I think this has on the over, and here's why I like it on that side. I actually think the pass game is going to open up the opportunity for him versus Pittsburgh this week. I think they're going to have to focus on, and everybody's talking about Tank, but don't forget how good Nico Collins has been in year two. Nico has been fantastic. If you go look at his route run, his yak, everything, his catch rate, Nico has been very, very, very good this season. And CJ Stroud's now showed everybody 3 weeks in a row, hey, he could throw the ball. So I think that's actually going to open up the door for Pierce here, is they're going to try to focus on slowing that down. And I think this might be the week Pierce gets a little more involved.
Yeah, I've been. So I feel like this happens to me about once a year, right? With one player where right as soon as I give up on what they can really do on their ceiling, they actually start performing well. And this is Nico Collins for me this year, right? And I really shouldn't have given up, exactly the same time I started making claims that Houston has himself a real quarterback, right? It's kind of stupid of me, but maybe mentally I was hedging. I don't know. But yeah, I agree with you. Nico Collins has been good, and he's been overshadowed because Tank Dell's just been better. Sticks with the theme that this Houston offense has a bright future with a real quarterback. So yeah, like the ceiling of Damien Pierce. Now we're not going to take Damien Pierce the rest of this weekend. We have him on our card with the promo, but we do have a full slate to dive.
Yeah, I'm trying. I want to win $10,000. Like, that's why I'm using
it. Exactly, right. It's a lottery. It's a $20 lottery ticket, and you might just win $40 out of it, right? If Dalton Kinkaid does his job as well. Now we have a better, the rest of the slate to dive in. There's a lot of action going on with, the lines moving since yesterday. And I want to reiterate how important the underdog pick generator is. You can't get this line anymore, so I'll say it. One of our picks last night, and we notified the Discord when we put the picks out, was Lamar Jackson lower than 200.5 passing yards. Look at your screen right now. It's at 190.5, not just because there's been a lot of big money coming in on the lower. I tweeted about this morning, pitched it on another stream, and I hear a lot of big money on the lower. But just about an hour or so ago, Rashad Bateman and Odell Beckham Jr. are out, and it was that news that I was sort of monitoring as well. And now you can't get lower than 200.5. Our projections have him in the 180s, but I'm still personally now at 190.5. Not playing it anymore, right? So you missed out on that 200.5 train, but we have other picks, and we will get right to those week 4 picks after a quick word from our sponsor.
Hey, so many ask me, what's wrong with sportsbooks? Why so many of them fail? The answer is simple. They don't innovate. They're just casino sportsbooks on a phone. That's all they've been. There are a few that are doing a good job. We partner with them. Most of them, not so much. Until Bet Openly came along. Bet Openly said, hey, we're going to innovate. We're going to do something groundbreaking. We're going to have peer-to-peer betting in all states, and you pay 1%. When you win, you pay just 1% on your winnings. You heard that right. It's 1%. With code Underworld, you qualify for just that 1% transaction fee on Bet Openly. It gives you ultimate flexibility to set your own lines and browse lines that others have set. Think about it. That's what betting should be, and now that is the reality. BetOpenly.com. The code is Underworld. Check it out.
We are back on the Player Profiler Pick and Power Hour talking about pick'ems. You missed the train on Lamar Jackson lower than 200.5 passing yards unless you have the underdog pick generator on the DFS Dominator. But if you're on the show right now on Friday on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, you're not missing out on the rest of our card. We just placed an entry into the underdog $100K special with Damien Pierce total yards, and we're backing him and backing Dalton Kinkaid higher than 2.5 receptions. But it's time for a little 1v1 again, and someone's got to hit one of these entries one of these days. Why not us this week, right? So right here we have pulled up Trevor's first pick. Take it away. Why are you backing Brock Purdy?
This is just simple math for me. We gave this out On the pick generator, it was 229.5. It's already up to 232. This is very simple. They get the Arizona Cardinals this week. And while sure the Cowboys couldn't get it done, those are two very different offenses. Brock is averaging 245.3 yards a game, with more importantly 106.3 passer rating, and that was missing a couple big balls against the Rams. So they also have the sixth best pass block matchup this week. So I think he's going to have all the time in the world. Then you add in, when you start looking at wide receiver cornerback matchups, 2 of the top 14 matchups this week are Debo and Ayuk. So now you start adding in, it's there. You give me CMC, you give me George Kittle. Then you add in Jawan Jennings. You add in all these ancillary pieces against what has been a surprisingly not as bad team as everybody expected them to be, but they're still really bad. And this is the week I really think they see a big exposure. We model him at PlayerProfiler here over 260 yards this week. So when we model somebody to 260, I can get the line at 232. That's a pretty significant edge. And that's where I like to jump in and like take advantage, because when I can go in all of a sudden and I'm like, wow, okay, like we're looking at this and we're trying to take an opportunity to go there. For me, this is just like a great spot to go up that way, especially as we're seeing the line creep up. And I think this line creeps up more on actual sports books tell there. So I think there's going to be some advantage playing it this week. At those different spots. I really like Brock. I like the offense. And I think he keeps it going this week for the 49ers.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all. And this is one of those games I feel like for me personally, it's a complete stay away. Because I feel like I'm going to end up having no exposure on this game unless I'm tempted into some Elijah Mitchell again. I mean, he came through for me last time. Might have some Elijah Mitchell stuff going on later in the closer to Sunday, but we'll see what the sports books do with that. But yeah, I don't mind. Debo and Ayuk both listed questionable, but probably going to play. And yeah, it's the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, this is a line like we see now, right? Brock Purdy is good. I mean, the haterade is out of my system. I was skeptical last year, no longer. So as long as we get at least 3 quarters of competitive football here, I think this soars as well. And like you said, projections clear this by a lot. Trevor, I'm actually going to let you pick your other pick because my two picks kind of go hand in hand. So I'm going to let you pick your other pick now as well.
Oh, yeah, that works for me. That way I can get it locked in as well. So this is simple. We're going with Mr. number 1 running back of the draft. We love this. We love this spot. And so this is Mr. Bijan Robinson. So we saw what happened last week when Atlanta decided to not use Bijan and Tyler and how bad that went for them. I don't think that's a mistake that Arthur makes again after winning their first 2 games. I just don't think he goes back there and does that again. I just don't believe we see that. So we're going to get Bijan over 25.5 receiving yards. And why are we going there on his receiving yards? Let's talk about it. He has a 73.6% route percentage run. That means he's running routes. A running back is running 73% of the team's routes they're running out of 100. That is unheard of. Like, those are unheralded bell cow numbers. And as we know, Desmond Ridder can't throw very well. So what do you want to do? You want to get the best player on your team the ball in open area. He has 17 targets this year. He already has 14 catches for 102 yards. He has 116 yards after contact, and he's averaging 7.29 yards per route run. So now you tell me he's got a 73% route percentage, and he's getting 7.29 yards route per run in a game over in England. It's early against a strong Jacksonville defense. in a matchup that matters to both of these teams a lot, they're going to lead on him. They're going to have to check down to him. They're going to be up in Ritter's face when they're trying to throw. And more importantly is I think they're going to scheme more stuff to him this week. I think they're going to continue to, as much as they don't use Pitts, they're going to increase Bijan's receiving. And I think this is the last week we see his numbers in the 20s on receiving yards.
I like Bijan, as the buy lows we're getting in some spots, and it depends what you take, right? Sometimes you're taking the rushing, sometimes you're taking the receiving. And again, right, just with Jahmyr Gibbs, we have people crying on Twitter all day long about like, Bijan should be getting 100% of the snaps. Shut up. Tyler Algier is good. But that's also why we're getting these nice little soft lines, right? Like 25.5 receiving yards. It's because there's another guy in the backfield. And I really like the way you're targeting the receiving, because I do think that the Falcons will be playing from behind, a ton this game. And people skeptical of Jacksonville calling their entire roster fraudulent because they lost to C.J. Stroud. Desmond Ridder is not C.J. Stroud. Desmond Ridder is not good at football. That you can clip. Desmond Ridder is not good at football, right? So he's going to have to find his easy yards this way and give it to the playmakers. So I like it. Trevor's entry. Brock Purdy, higher than 232.5 passing yards. Bijan Robinson, higher than 25.5 receiving yards. You're putting half a unit on it, and you're going to lock that in. But it's time for mine, and I've got, you went with, you backed the quarterback on your own team. I'm going to do something similar this week, right? When in doubt, go to the team you know best. And I'm going to the mid-reads. I mean the Patriots. So the Patriots, I saw them, in MetLife Stadium last week. I was there. It was icky weather against the Jets. Pulled out a win finally. If we didn't win that game, I probably would have boycotted the sport. But we got through that. We got through that game. And something that, whether or not you like the Patriots, something you might have to admit to through the first 3 weeks is this Patriots offense does not look as broken as it did last year. Yes, it still lacks a big-time playmaker. I wish the Patriots had an alpha. They don't. It is what it is. Hunter Henry is their alpha.
He's in Las Vegas.
The alpha is in Las Vegas. No longer allergic to touchdowns, by the way. But the Patriots don't have an alpha, but what they do have is a new approach this year under offensive coordinator Bill O'Brien, right? They ranked number 1 in pace of play, which is crazy to say, right? The Bill Belichick grinded out Patriots ranked number 1 on offense in pace of play with Mac Jones. Mac Jones was on pace to lead the NFL, lead all of history in passing attempts in a season, right? And now that you no longer get that atrocious weather, I think you get a little bit more of this high pace, pass the ball offense. And I approaching this slate, right? Like Trevor has mentioned before on the show, you want to approach DFS and you want to approach these pick'ems by looking at the sports books and looking at because Vegas is sharp on a lot of most things, right? That's how they stay in business, because they're pretty goddamn sharp, right? So Vegas thinks that this game is going to be a little bit high scoring. This game, the total is at 43. It's the highest. It's the 5th highest total on the slate, and Dallas has the 6th highest implied Vegas team total on the Sunday slate. They expect scoring, which is kind of in line with after I left MetLife Stadium. I was like, you know what? I'm going to target offense, not just for the Patriots the next game after this 15-point performance, 2 of which came off a safety, this 13-point offensive performance, but also I came back to my hotel room and I watched Dallas suffer at the hands of the Arizona Cardinals. And I was like, I should have known this. They were looking ahead to the Patriots, and it was a look-ahead game. It was a trap game for them, and they had no business losing to that roster, but Josh Dobbs is built different. This week, we get more to what we expect from both teams, right? We get the high-paced Patriots offense, and we get a Dallas Cowboys offense that looks pretty good under a Dak Prescott who, through the first 2 weeks, was very good at football, right? And just no matter how much you hate the Patriots or Cowboys, you have to admit Dak Prescott was good those first 2 weeks. You get more of that Dak this week. So that's why for my 2 picks, I'm targeting offense in this game. I'm targeting offense on both sides, and I'm backing that we see a high-powered, offensive game in Dallas in those good indoor conditions. First pick, Chad Ryland, higher than 1.5 extra points made. Now, nobody wants this. I'm clicking the button that nobody wants to click. You mentioned that the Patriots have been higher paced. They've also just been better. Mac Jones has looked better. The Dallas defense is good, but that's why we're getting a discount, right? With Trayvon Diggs out last week, we saw what happened. Josh Dobbs just slicing them up. I don't think it's going to be that easy for New England, but Mac Jones this season ranks number 12 in completion rate under pressure and number 5 in catchable pass rate under pressure and number 10 in overall success rate. So he has not been the disaster that many people were advertising of him. So I expect the Patriots to get a couple touchdowns here, and Vegas has this juiced over to the over on 1.5 extra points made on some books minus 125, on some books minus 130. So we like seeing that the over is juiced here. The only way I see this miss is if the Patriots scored 2 touchdowns, but their second one, they have to go for 2. And that is just such a specific scenario. This is not the Eagles we're talking about. This is not the Lions. Bill does not go for 2 early in the game, right? So just get us these 2 extra points early in the game. Get out of the way. I think we can get there. The pair piece is on the Dallas side, and it's Tony Pollard, right? So I'm going Tony Pollard higher than half a rushing plus receiving touchdown. And this is just insane value on Pick'em. I think prediction this is going to be off the board tomorrow, right? So if you're watching on the bonus show on Friday, anytime touchdown for Tony Pollard is minus 150. That's an alarm sound. You take it on Pick'em. On most sportsbooks, it's minus 150. Talk about Tony Pollard. Well, I did most of my talking on Tony Pollard, and so did the Podfather and several other people on the Player Profiler Network did their talking on Tony Pollard all off season. But we're seeing exactly what we advertised. He's number 1 in the NFL in red zone touches, number 1 in carries inside the 10. And New England has allowed 3 rushing touchdowns in their last 2 games, 2 to Raheem Mostert, and then 1 last week to the damn fullback of the Jets, right? So they're going to feed the beast here, but more reasons to believe that they will do that. CeeDee Lamb, in his last meeting against New England, which was 2 years ago, 149 yards and 2 touchdowns. They're going to make sure that he does not duplicate that performance. CeeDee Lamb's going to get his way. He's an elite player. He's going to find ways to produce, but maybe not that much, right? A little more defensive attention on him, a little more defensive attention maybe on that connection to Brandon Cooks as well, the revenge spot as well. Christian Gonzalez is now on the team. It's a good good draft pick by Bill Belichick. Kind of crazy to think about Christian Gonzalez. So Tony Pollard, feed the beast. If the Cowboys are going to bounce back in this game and produce, at the rate that Vegas thinks they will, they're going to have to get one score out of Tony Pollard.
I agree. That's a really easy one. And I want to give a shout out today to our own player profiler, Mr. Matty Kuhn. He actually posted a couple hours ago on Twitter, and I didn't have a chance to get caught up, but somebody just sent it to me. He posted what the Falcons catch rates were, and I knew it. I just didn't have it memorized in my show notes. So let's read the Falcons catch rates, which I saw this. I'm like, oh, it made my heart happy. Drake London, 57%. Mac Hollins, 50%. Kyle Pitts, 52.9%. And Bijan Robinson, 82.4%. That's just another thing that lines up. I like when we're all seeing things from the same page. And I like this. I like using the same game as entries and using it DFS style for you. Right? Like if the implied total is correct, which we know they were. In case anybody's curious about how accurate the books are at setting lines, we're coming up on, we're the last weekend of baseball. Let me give you an idea. There's been, out of all the games, 1,136 overs, 1,137 unders, and 111 pushes. So in case you're curious about how good these billion-dollar companies are at this, that gives you an idea. So we're trying to find different spots to take advantage, and that's where Underdog gives you a great opportunity to do it.
And I'm going to be making a video right after this for our social media and YouTube channel about, some player props I like outside of the ones on Pick'em. And I was going to say in my intro that player props are some of the best ways that you can juice value out of these, right? Because the public thing, the casual thing to do is to hit some of those money lines and some of those, totals. But just great stat there of how sharp those can be, which is why underdog is great. You can do game stacks like this. In this case, my game stack is there will be scoring in Dallas, right? So Chad Ryland higher than 1.5 extra points made. Tony Pollard to score a touchdown. Carlos brings up in the chat, did Dallas have some D linemen out? We have no new news on the injury report from Dallas as far as what I just looked up. So DeMarvion Obershawn, linebacker, is on the IR, and Nashawn Wright is on the IR, and Trayvon Diggs is on the IR at cornerback. And that's all the information we have right now. Oh, did Dallas have some D linemen out last week? Did they?
I'd have to go look and see who it was. Now, we did get some 49er news during the show. I just got an update. Brandon Ayuk will play this week, so sign me up. That was I really love Purdy's line. Now it was 100. Juwan Jennings, though, downgraded doubtful. He took that hit on the shin. It's probably still really swollen. Actually, though, Elijah Mitchell listed as questionable this week. If Elijah is questionable, give CMC the ball and let him go. So we'd take a couple swing passes from Mr. Purdy and let CMC run him to the house.
And maybe that means just a few more pass attempts for Brock Purdy. So, keep Elijah Mitchell rested, right? The 49ers need him down the stretch. Maybe this week he can take a little bit of a break. So looking back at the Dallas Cowboys injury report for last week, so Jaron Kearse played. So he was out with an illness last week in practice, but he played, and I believe everybody else, no other. If ArizonaSports.com is accurate, looks like they didn't have any major, starters that were out that game. So it looks like we're going to get similar personnel. Once again, to recap our entries, so we are together on Damien Pierce higher than 63.5 total yards, the underdog special, right? If you're going to get that on Friday, get that on Friday. If not, pair it with whatever. If you're seeing this on Saturday, pair it with the special that's on Saturday, right? And you're going to pair whatever special you have, pick a side, and pair it with our favorite pick'em on the board, which is Dalton Kinkaid, higher than 2.5 receptions. And if that receptions, projection is off the board or gets up to 3.5, then maybe head to the receiving yards. We like that as well. But we're in on the higher than 2.5 receptions, and those are the perks of being on the bonus show. You can get these lines on Friday. And then, Trevor, you want to recap your entry?
Yeah, we are on Brock Purdy over 232 passing yards and Bijan Robinson over 25.5 receiving yards. Grab this Bijan one before it moves. This is, I really think, the last time we're going to get it this low this season.
And we have, as well, from my side, we have Chad Ryland. Many of you may not know yet by now, but now you do. He's the kicker for the New England Patriots. He's going to make 2 extra points, right? Higher than 1.5 extra points made on Sunday, and we're going to pair that, the game script stack, we're going to pair that with an actual superstar. Tony Pollard, higher than half a rushing plus receiving touchdown. Those are our entries. I feel really good about this weekend. I feel like I've said that 3 weeks in a row, but if you don't go into a slate with a mentality that you're going to win every play, I mean, why are we even placing these, right?
Yep, that's the whole point. So thanks for everybody. Sorry about the coughing. I'm pretty sick, but it's week 4, and we got to keep getting you guys all that great content for Underdog.
Trevor, what's sick is those plays we just pitched. That was cringe. I'm going to end the show before I say some more things. We're going to get an article up for you as well, so you can read more of what we just talked about on the show on Saturday morning. But it's always best if you get in on the action now, and we will see you in week 5 for an icky-looking Thursday night football, Bears-Commanders looking like game. But we will see you after, hopefully, we have found some more winners.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you, allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.